Hi, it's Ernest Berghof, broker and CEO at Berghof Realty, and today let's review the listing packet. The first document is the disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship. This is the document that explains there are three types of agents. There's the seller's agent, representing the seller. There is the buyer's agent, representing the buyer. And in California, an agent can represent both the buyer and the seller. As I mentioned before, I will never do that because, in my opinion, it's impossible to aggressively represent both sides of the transaction. Page 2 is the law that said I needed to explain that. Next up is the possible representation of more than one buyer or seller disclosure. This says, in a nutshell, that you are not the only client of Berghof Realty, although we try to make you feel that way. Next is the wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory. So wire fraud is a real thing. Do not put any bank information or send any bank information through email. Anytime we're wiring funds, any bank information will be conveyed by the title company through a telephone call. So if you get any kind of an email saying you should fill something out, don't do it. Let us know so that we can make sure that you are not victim of wire fraud. Next comes the residential listing agreement itself. We'll go through each section so you know what's in it. Up at the top is the date. Your name will be here. Berghof Realty is the broker. We then put a time frame, usually 6 months, for the listing agreement. Remember that, as I mentioned, you can cancel the agreement at any time and owe Berghof Realty nothing, and I'll show you later where that goes in the agreement. Next is the listing price and terms. Below that is the compensation of broker. 6% is the compensation of broker. This is the total amount, so there are no other fees, as we talked about. Out of that 6% goes, a portion of that goes to the agent representing the buyer, and that is 2.5%. As we continue down, any items that are excluded from the sale, sometimes things like hot tubs that are confusing on whether or not they're included with the sale or not. If in fact they're excluded and you're taking those with, we list those right here. Here we declare any of the items that you know that are leased, things like solar systems, alarms, things like that, propane tanks. Your home will be listed in the multiple listing service. Barry's is the multiple listing service we have for Northern California. It's really a great one, so we're happy about that. This next section tells you why it is absolutely important to be listing it in the multiple listing service. Next up is the broker and seller's duty. This says that the broker will actually do everything we can to sell your home and that you must disclose everything to prospective buyers. Coming through, agency relationship. This says that you actually sign that very first page. Security, insurance, showings, and videos. This tells you that yes, in fact, we are going to be marketing your property, so it's going to be out on the internet in a big way, and you need to be aware of that. Photographs, continue on with that. Key safe lockbox. We will be putting a lockbox on your property. Signs, yes, there's going to be a sign. In fact, there'll be many of them. Equal housing opportunity, it's not just a good idea, it's the law. Attorney fees says that loser pays for in any kind of an attorney situation. Additional terms, here's where it says, if not completely satisfied with the service provided by Berghof Realty, seller may cancel this agreement at any time prior to accepting an offer and owe Berghof Realty nothing. Management approval, it needs to be approved by the broker of record, which is me, Ernest Berghof. Successors, this just means that it's an agreement between us. Disputes, any type of dispute gets mediation. Entire agreement, again, this legally just says this is the entire agreement between Berghof Realty and the seller. Ownership and title, this is where the seller warrants that in fact they can and have the legal right to sell the property, unless there's a representative capacity, in which case we will have this box checked and we will be filling out another form indicating who is signing on what entity's behalf. Here is where everything gets signed, and that is the full listing agreement. Next up is the seller advisory. This is the first of multiple advisories that you will get. This explains to you all of the things that you need to be aware of and the things that you need to be able to disclose. There's a bunch of forms that we'll fill out later that are the disclosure forms, and we'll be going over those in detail to make sure that you know how to fill those out and are protected accordingly. Thanks so much for watching the listing packet review, and remember, if you have any questions at all, please contact us. We're always here to help.